Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video we are going to see Fetch API in JavaScript. So if you are new here, please consider subscribing so you won't miss any future content. Now let's start the video. Yes, so as you can see on my screen, I am on a website which is named as JSON placeholder. So these people provide free APIs to work with. Okay, so if I say APIs, which means some data which is stored in the server. Okay, so let's see what are the resources they have. You can see we have the resources. They have the resources as post, comments, album, photos, to do, and the users. Okay, so if I open, let's say photos, so you'll see they have the array of objects of the album. Okay, so album and URL, you see photo is there. So if I open this, you will see this is image. So similar to that, other images are there, which are actually 5,000. Okay, they are saying here 5,000 photos are there. Okay, so you can use this array of object, and this with this you can make something in your HTML web page. Okay, but the thing is we have to fetch this. Okay, so in order to fetch this, in order to get this in our HTML, we need to use fetch API to get this. Okay, so let's see users. Okay, so users API we are going to use, and we'll see how exactly we can fetch the data in our HTML web page. Okay, so let me open our file here. So this is our index.html, sorry, not index, fetch api.html, and you can see I have the script tag here. Okay, so let me paste this URL. So the URL is simple, uh, JSON placeholder .com something and slash users. Okay, so if you want to use other ones, you have the resources, these much resources they have, you can use any of them. Okay, but right now we are using only users. Okay, so let's go back and let's see how exactly we can work with the fetch. Okay, so let me write the fetch first. Okay, let's see how we can create the request. Okay, so then you have to write fetch first. So fetch, and it is a method. Okay, so you have to call it. Okay, so once you call it, it will saying input you request info or URL. Okay, so we have the URL, so we can provide this URL here. Okay, and if I hover over this, you will see it is returning promise. Okay, so it is returning us a promise. Okay, so whenever it says promise, we know what we can use it. Okay, either we can use dot then and catch block, or we can use async and await methods. Okay, so instead then and catch, I'll prefer using async and await. So for that, what I'll do is I'll create a handle request. Okay, so handle request method I'll going to create, and here I'll going to call this. Okay, and this API, this whole request, I'll put inside this thing. Okay, and as we have to use async and await, I have to use here async and here await. Okay, and as you know, it is returning something, right? It is returning a promise. As I use await, it will going to wait it, but we have to capture it somewhere. So I'll create a variable here as response equals to await, and this is the fetch API. Okay, so this is how exactly it looks. Okay, so now if I say here console log response, let's see what exactly the response we are getting here. Okay, so let me refresh. You can see we are getting response here, and this is how the response look like. Okay, but we don't need this response, we want the user details. Okay, this way it should be there. So right now it's not coming. The reason is we have to convert the response into JSON. Okay, so let's create one more variable calling it as a result equal to response.json. Okay, so using this .json method, we can convert the response into JSON, and if I log result now, it will give us the result back. Yes, so it's showing us again promise. The reason it's showing promise, we have to use await here, because the response when we convert into JSON as well, it will also return as a promise. Okay, so that's why we have to use await also here. So now if I go back and refresh, you can see we are getting this array. Okay, if I expand it, you should be able to see whole data whichever is there in the API as well. Okay, so this is the data they are giving us, and we are getting the data as well. So let's expand this and let's see what exactly we have. So in each element we will get address, company, email, ID, name, phone number, username, and the website. Okay, so these things we are getting it. So now main thing with fetch API. So we got the data. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to render this data in our HTML page. Okay, so directly we can't do, like if we do npm something like, sorry, map result.map or something, we can't use it here, right? If I go here and say like result.map, it will not going to work. It will show exactly the same. So now this is the question: how do we render? Okay, render, if I say, means the whatever result we are getting, how do we render here inside the HTML? Okay, so that we are going to see now. Yes. So now you can see I have just added few CSS, and this is our HTML structure. It's very simple. H1 we have with fetch API, that's the title. Then we have a card. You can see the CSS is simple, 300 pixel, and we have margin 50 pixel auto and some box shadow. Okay, and then we have another list inside that list item. Okay, so in here list items, we have to get this all the 10 users instead of this list item here. Okay, so these 10 whole things I want to show it here. Okay, so let's see how exactly we can do this. Okay, so the first thing what we have to do is, let's remove this list item from here and give a ID to another list. I'll say ID as list. Okay, and I'll take the res, uh, yeah, list here as the reference of that. So get element by ID we can take, and I'll say list. Okay, so here you can see we got the list, our what do we say, reference for the UL. Okay, so inside the UL we have to create the list items, which is li. Okay, list items we have to create and we have to map it. Okay, so how we can create it, let's see here outside. I'll show you with the example, and then we can use it inside the request as well. Okay, so let's see what we have to create is li we have to create. You can give any name. Okay, list item also you can give, it's up to you. Then document dot create element. Okay, so with JavaScript as well we can create the elements. Element, if I say, it's HTML elements. Okay, any type of element we can create it. Okay, so now if I do this document dot create element, now you see it's saying here tag name. We have to provide the tag name. Okay, so now I want the tag name as li. Okay, that's the tag name I want. So now you can see here it's added. If I go back and refresh, nothing will be there because right now we are not doing anything. Now if I do list item, that's the reference of the created li. Okay, and I'll write dot inner HTML equal to hello. Okay, and if I go back and refresh, nothing will happen again because we have to append to that list. If I say, right, another list we have, right, here we have to append it. Okay, so let's see how we can append. So we have the list reference here. I'll call this list dot append, I'll say, and I'll say list item. Okay, and let's save and let's go back. Now you see hello we are getting. So now you see in HTML I did not added the li, but still we are able to see the li because from JavaScript we have created the list item. So these three things are needed. First we have to create an element with the tag name, then we have to provide some text inside that, and then we have to append to the list. Okay, so the list is ul. So then we can get the output here. Now what we have to do is, with this method, with this process, we have to append all the list items from this result. Okay, we have to map through it, and we want to get the username from it, out of it. Okay, so username, or let's say name. Okay, so I want to show name in here. Okay, in the HTML. So let's see how we can do that. Yes. So as we know that we have the result here. So what we are going to do here is we are going to write result dot for each. We have to loop through it. Okay, and then here we can get the value from the callback function, and this is the for each we have created. Okay, inside this I'm going to create a list item. Okay, so from the outside I have removed that list item because we need to have the list item inside this. Okay, document dot create element, I'll use it again, and it should be li. Okay, and then list item, I'll say inner HTML equal to the value. Okay, so because we need to check the value. Okay, so I will go to the value and I'll do dot name. As we know that value, whatever elements we have in the array, it's an object, so we need to get the name out of it. So this is how we can do. If I save it and go back, nothing will happen because we have to append it to the list as well. Okay, so let's see list, which is we have already the reference of list here, and list dot append I'll do, and I'll do list item here. Okay, now let's save it and let's go back and let's see what will happen. Now you see the names, I'm going to get it here. Okay, now we are able to get the names. If I open into the here, you can see another list, we can see list items are here. Okay, all the list items are here. We can see it's already rendered here. So this is how we can get the data using fetch API from the server, and we can render it in a HTML using the create element and the append element. Okay, so if I change this li, if you might have a question, if I do h1, now let's see what will happen. Now you see it's coming this way. So it's up to you what element you want to provide, but using the create element we can create any element in JavaScript. Okay, yes, so this is about fetch API and rendering a list in JavaScript. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please consider subscribing and give it a like. I'll be back with more content in the next video. Thank you.